Elon Musk now even wants to review and audit the SEC, the institution that, according to many experts in recent years, has ensured that the Bitcoin price was massively suppressed and Bitcoin adoption was slowed down. Elon Musk is very likely to uncover everything in this regulatory agency. And the whole thing could also become extremely relevant for Bitcoin. He also now officially confirms that Fort Knox should be audited, that it would make sense to check if there is still gold in Fort Knox. There are even other sources now claiming that Elon Musk wants to do a live stream from Fort Knox to show whether there is still gold or no gold left. Very, very interesting what is happening here. And this could also become very, very interesting for Bitcoin. Additionally, we now see Ivanka Trump asking her followers, does the USA need a strategic Bitcoin reserve? How crazy is that? That even Ivanka Trump is now getting involved in the Bitcoin reserve game. This means we have Donald Trump, who is open to Bitcoin. We have Eric Trump, who is open to Bitcoin. Now also Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, who is open to Bitcoin. It doesn't get much more bullish than this. On the other hand, we see that there is officially no strategic Bitcoin reserve yet, but privately they are all lining their pockets, whether it's Eric Trump, Donald Trump, and now probably Ivanka Trump as well. Here we also see the tweet, where she writes, do you support adding Bitcoin to the US reserve? And then there were all the Bitcoin enthusiasts commenting below, yes, of course, go for it. Bitcoin into the reserve. Cynthia Commission also says here, hey, we should reconsider this, maybe pump Bitcoin into the reserve. I mean, she's already a big Bitcoin supporter, but the crazy thing is that there's now more and more political support coming in, even for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Or it could just be that she wants to pump her own bags here, because why would she ask something like that if she doesn't have massive Bitcoin allocations herself? So she probably owns Bitcoin herself. This is just a conspiracy theory of mine. It doesn't have to be that way. It could also be different. But it would fit that one owns Bitcoin and then pumps their own bags by sharing such tweets. And now something very, very exciting is happening in the USA. We see that more and more things are supposed to be uncovered here. The Federal Reserve is also supposed to be reviewed, the IRS, then we have USAID. And now we've reached the SEC, and this is quite special because the SEC is also the regulatory authority responsible for Bitcoin, where it was a long discussion about whether Bitcoin ETFs would come or not. Now there is even a proposal to allow Bitcoin ETFs, not in cash, but in kind, from BlackRock. And we now see a relaxation here in the SEC, but in the last 2 years, we have simply seen that the SEC has also massively targeted Bitcoin and crypto. Not so much against Bitcoin, but especially against the entire crypto market. And now this is being audited, now this is being reviewed. We see here that the Department of Government Efficiency has created its own account in X, says here, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency opens an SEC account. Investors are demanding an audit of the SEC, an investigation into uncovered short sales, and any relationships with S representatives and hedge funds. So hedge funds are on the closing list. Then we also have all the short sales that have happened, especially with GameStop. What's happening there was a huge short squeeze. Some have already spoken about it. Hey, GameStop needs to be audited here. At the same time, we see GameStop approaching Bitcoin and potentially considering a Bitcoin investment. But it could also be quite clear that one thing or another related to Bitcoin and crypto might be uncovered here, that perhaps the SEC would slow down the whole issue, that this might also come to light. I mean, it doesn't help us much if it comes to light afterward. All the people, Gary, Gensler, and so on, they're not in office anymore anyway. In hindsight, one could now say, okay, maybe you slowed down the whole thing. But it wouldn't really change much here now anyway. But it would send a signal that corruption within the SEC is no longer tolerated. And for the future, this would mean an even better regulatory foundation for Bitcoin. It is said that the Department of Government Efficiency is also asking the public for assistance. Please send a DM to this account with information on identifying and addressing waste, fraud, and abuse related to the Securities and Exchange Commission. And many have already commented below saying, hey, on one hand, they should check all the shitcoins here, all the illegal securities. On the other hand, we should really check if perhaps in the past Bitcoin was regulated down or if Bitcoin should have been portrayed much better. But as I said, that's all in the past. You can't do anything about it now anyway. But maybe it will also lead to some scam coins being exposed here and then some scam projects being scrutinized. By the way, I would especially investigate things like the Trump coin story or the Melania coin story to see what exactly went on there. But Donald Trump would basically be shooting himself in the foot here. We also have an interesting clip here from Elon Musk where he talks about the SEC. Take a look at it.
Look at you.
No, I want to be clear. I do not respect the SEC. I do not respect them.
But you're abiding by the settlement, aren't you?
Because I respect the justice system.
Elon Musk clearly does not respect the SEC. He does respect the justice system, but not the SEC. And we also know that back then Elon Musk had issues with the SEC. He was sued by the SEC. I'm not sure, but I believe he had to pay a fine. But check it out to see if that's true. Am I not 100% sure? Let me know in the comments if you know better. In any case, he still has a bone to pick with the SEC. And it seems that you always meet twice in life. Once he was on the wrong side. Now he might be on the right side and perhaps can reverse the stories that happened back then. And now maybe it's not Elon Musk who is the defendant, but perhaps Elon Musk is the accuser here. He is already writing to someone, can you please look at DTCC and securities lending, the rehypothecation of stocks to hedge funds for unlimited short selling, for example, using GameStop here. So that we will basically lose some securities that are stored somewhere. And these lost securities are then used for shorting again, and things like that. This is a tactic that is quite controversial. And definitely some hedge funds are involved. And now it's simply being said, hey, in the future, it might not be possible for this to happen anymore. I mean, back then, in the GameStop scandal of 2021, there were actually more short sales than actual GameStop shares. And that shouldn't necessarily be the case. So that was an absolute short squeeze that took place here. And the hedge funds had to pay a high price for it because the small investors banded together and bet against GameStop. Now I've completely turned it around. They didn't bet against GameStop, of course, but rather the GameStop investors bet against the hedge funds. That was one of the few where the hedge funds lost massively and the small investors actually won. And now we see Elon Musk tweeting more and more about Fort Knox. And I've already reported in the last few days that it's really crazy what's going on right now. That means on one side, we have the Bank of England, which cannot deliver its gold. On the other side, there are now more and more people like Rand Paul, but also major politicians who are now demanding an audit of Fort Knox. And that could backfire if something bad comes out. Then the USA could be in a very, very bad position if it turns out there's no gold left. But it could also mean that there's more gold in Fort Knox. Then it would be very, very good for the USA. I now say Elon Musk, who confirms that no gold would be stolen from Fort Knox. So he's basically already throwing the accusation into the room himself and says that gold might be stolen from Fort Knox. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. This money is the property of the American public. We want to know if it's still there. And this is now a crazy story going on because Elon Musk is saying here, we clearly want to know if it's still there. And this also has relevance for Bitcoin later on because I've said it before, if there's no more gold here, then it will become clear to Bitcoin investors or gold investors that a lot of fraud can partially take place here with the custodial services or with the custodians here like in Fort Knox. And that can naturally lead to a loss of trust. On the other hand, it naturally leads to a lower gold reserve. This can again lead to an increase in the gold price. Then there's the dollar story again. That means if there's nothing in Fort Knox, it could weaken the dollar. If there's more in Fort Knox than expected, it could strengthen the dollar again. That means there are various scenarios that can play out here. But even Elon Musk is now talking about the possibility that not all the gold is in Fort Knox. And he doesn't care if the whole thing turns out negatively. Because I also reported in the last few days, many people have written in the comments that they would only audit it if they were sure the audit would turn out positively for the USA. They wouldn't audit it if they later found out, hey, damn, this is very, very bad for the USA. The dollar will lose its trust because we have much less gold. Then they wouldn't make it public. But as I understand Elon Musk now, we will definitely make it public, no matter what the people think or whether it turns out good or bad for the USA. Because he says it's a right of the American citizens to know how much gold is contained here. And I mean, we also have to lay everything bare. When we file a tax return, if we have income, we also have to clearly audit, okay, how much income do we have? How much expenditure do we have? And the state apparently doesn't have to do that now. And more people are saying, hey, it can't be that we have to lay everything bare. But the state can have shadow budgets. The Pentagon hasn't been audited for years. The Federal Reserve has never really been audited for over 50 years, just like Fort Knox. And this is simply the time and the change of times we are in, where these things that have been dragged along for years and just accepted are now being questioned and addressed. And for that, it's really, really crazy what's going on in the Department of Government Efficiency. Because really big crimes could come to light here, not just here at Fort Knox, but especially also in the Federal Reserve and in many other instances. Here in the USA, possibly the SEC as well. In another tweet, Elon Musk also adds to this and repeats it again. He says, this gold is the property of the American people. I really hope that it's still there. So he also clearly says he's not sure if it's all still there. And we've already gone through the conspiracy theories in past videos about everything that's out there. Either it's stolen, it's shifted around. It was never there, paper gold was issued. There are many, many different conspiracy theories, but there is a large number of people who are very, very sure about this, that the gold is not there. And that would also explain why nothing has been audited here for so long. And that's why many people here are now panicking. People who are now on the verge of being exposed. And that's why there are also Democrats like Elizabeth Carey. And so who are then taking shots at Elon Musk? who then say, hey, we need to ban what Elon Musk is doing. He's overstepping basic rights here. And it can't be that he's just auditing everything here and so on. But yes, that's just how it is now. Now is simply the time to uncover all the fraud, all the deceit here. And Elon Musk actually quoted a US senator here, who is also a military general. And here he posted something very, very interesting. He says here, as a US senator, I repeatedly tried to enter Fort Knox. And then he always got the response from Fort Knox, you cannot come to Fort Knox. And then he asked why. Then he got the answer, it's a military facility. And then he said, yes, I am a senator, I visit military bases all the time. And then Fort Knox just said again, you still can't come because you just can't. So no reasons are given here either. It's just said, yes, you can't audit us because you simply can't, because that's just how it is. That's just how it's always been in the past. And then they simply rely on the past saying, yes, because it has always been this way, we will continue exactly like this. And that's what needs to be interrupted here, this chain, so that power monopolies like the Federal Reserve, like Fort Knox, are also addressed now. And I've said it before, Donald Trump won't only make friends here, and neither will Elon Musk. They are really taking on the deep state here, meaning the people who have been pulling all the strings in the background for many decades, if not centuries. I mean, it's not by chance that the Federal Reserve isn't audited here, that there's no insight into the Pentagon, Fort Knox, and so on. Things are happening in the background that we are not aware of. And these things in the background that we are unaware of could now be uncovered. And this could be very, very bad for a lot of people. I also reported yesterday that there was a report from the Bank of England, then from the Australian Central Bank, that the Bank of England didn't store real gold bars, but instead stored fake gold bars. And something similar could also happen here in Fort Knox. Something similar could also be the case with the Federal Reserve, where there are many shadow accounts, and the debts are either much higher or much lower than expected. There are also people, for example, there was a guest on Joe Rogan's podcast, which I played for you here, the video, but I don't remember the name of the guest. I think it was something with Kerry, or so was his name. In any case, he claimed, for example, that the real debts of the USA are at least twice as high because the Pentagon is a black hole, another 36 trillion here in the USA. So almost as high as the current national debt again. And it could also happen that more and more such funds emerge. And then it comes out, hey, the real national debt isn't 36 trillion, but we're at 70 trillion, 80 trillion, or even more. And if you mix in implicit, unexplicit debts, then you'd already be far, over 200 trillion in debt. And then we had this report here. But I'm not sure if the report is accurate. I also checked with Elon Musk. I didn't see that Elon Musk tweeted it. Write it down in the comments below. If he actually tweeted it, then it would be an absolute bombshell here. Here it says in a report. Breaking news, Elon Musk suggests doing a live video tour of Fort Knox to ensure the gold is there. People across the country could follow this live. So if this actually turns out to be true, then it would probably be the most incredible live stream and the most incredible event of this year. We haven't seen anything like this before. That would be the absolute highlight. But I haven't seen any official announcements from Elon Musk about it. It's just an X-post that's going viral right now. But it could also be that I missed something, so feel free to write it in the comments below. And I'll say it again, why all of this is so important. One might say, hey, what does Fort Knox have to do with this? What does the IRS have to do with this? What does USAID have to do with this? What does the Federal Reserve audit have to do with this? What exactly does this have to do with Bitcoin? It actually has nothing directly to do with Bitcoin. But it certainly does have something to do with Bitcoin because we see here that Bitcoin is the only asset that has such massive transparency. All other assets or all other entities, whether companies or any government institutions, they just have much lower transparency. Oh, look, there's a dog fight going on here. Check it out. Especially escalating. Here. But you can't see it now. It's already stopped now. The dogs, they have nothing better to do. They're just fighting here too. They have other problems. For them, it's not about whether people are being scammed by the Fed or the central bank or Fort Knox, but they are also arguing with each other. That means it's not all a perfect world for the dogs. But here, it's definitely worth mentioning again that this is also relevant for Bitcoin. Because if frauds come to light here, if scams come to light here, if irregularities come to light here, then it's all a good argument. That means every irregularity, every scam, every fraud that is uncovered here by the Department of Government Efficiency, by Donald Trump, by Elon Musk, is good for Bitcoin because it is another strong argument for Bitcoin. And now here's the recommendation. If you don't want to get scammed, if you don't want to be defrauded, then you can buy censorship-resistant, transparent money at 21 Bitcoin. And that's called Bitcoin, the only truly decentralized cryptocurrency that is limited to 21 million. And here, with the code Bitcoin Hotel, if you want to buy Bitcoin here, you can get up to 20% off the fees when purchasing Bitcoin. Very simple, secure, easy for beginners and for advanced users. There are savings plans and much more. Definitely check out 21 Bitcoin if you haven't signed up already. Guys, let me know what you think about the audits. Are you on board with that or not? Do you see it critically? See you then. Peace out.